What exactly is a lingam? Is that also transactional?
The word linga comes from the word lina. Essentially it means the form. Everything is a form. This is the form. Why is it called the form? Today it is established beyond doubt. There are scientists who have computer simulations of what could have happened when the Big Bang happened. And the simulations show that an ellipsoid is formed. And today, cosmologists who have been looking through powerful telescopes or through radio waves and stuff like that, they're also saying the core of many galaxies are ellipsoid. There are more galaxies, nameless, countless number of galaxies which are ellipsoid in nature. But there are some which we observe more easily, which are spiral in nature. Spiraling galaxies are more visible because they're still expanding. Because they're expanding, they're full of gases which are turning into material, so their stars are burning bright, so you see them more observable. Galaxies which have more ellipsoid core are less observable because the gaseous levels there has lowered, the stars are not burning very bright. I must tell you this. Probably in 70s when the American and Soviet competition or soft war, they call it what, Cold War. At that time, everybody wanting to prove who is scientifically more advanced than the other. Unfortunately, they're again back to the same game now. So they wanted to explore, both the countries wanted to explore a nuclear device, a very powerful nuclear device on the moon, and they would have done it. The only reason why they did not do it is they realized if they explode a nuclear bomb on the planet, it will create a huge fireball like a sun, about the same temperature as the core of the sun, and a mushroom cloud and all this. All this won't happen on the moon because there is no atmosphere. You can't even see in the blast, it may be just a small cracker. So then they gave up because they can't create the drama on the planet. If you looked at the moon today, it is burning with a nuclear explosion, and we can claim we did it. That's how crude we've become, all right? But they didn't do it. Fortunately, there is no atmosphere in moon. If it blasts, you can't really make out much. So this is what I am saying, where there are no gases, where the gaseous material is limited or thin, there you cannot see the brightness of the burning star. So because of this, the elliptical core, the galaxies with elliptical cores are less visible. Galaxies which are spiral are more visible. But it's well established that the core of most galaxies are ellipsoid in nature, elliptical. Even the solar system is elliptical in its motion. So ellipse is a natural form that happens because when that which is unmanifest begins to manifest, the first form is an ellipse or an ellipsoid. A three-dimensional ellipse is an ellipsoid. And we know this from our experience, that if we become meditative to a point where your contact with your physical body becomes very minimal, you are almost not the body, then once again our energies take the form of a ellipsoid. So this perfect ellipsoid is a linga. As you see, they're sitting there in the water. So, this is called a linga because this is the beginning, this is the end. Or let's look at it this way, this is the front door to creation and this is the back door to creation. You can enter whichever way you want.
What specifically is a Swayambhu Lingam or a Jyotirlingam?
When we say Swayambhu, it means self-created. That means we did not take the trouble of making a form. We found a natural form which sort of went with the dimensions that we want, and we chose to make that into our linga and a point of worship and a point of power to consecrate that itself as a linga. When you say Jyotirlinga, well, today there is a very narrow understanding what this is. There are only 12 Jyotirlingas. It's not like that. Anything, Jyoti means light. Why light is important to us is because our visual apparatus are such that we can see things only when there is light. If you were made like an owl, we would not value Jyotirlinga. We would want dark lingas, right? So because we can see only when there is light, when a linga becomes a source of light for us, allows us to see things, allows us to experience things, allows us to perceive things beyond our normal perception or experience, then we call it a Jyotirlinga. Are there only 12? Not necessarily. 12 has been created as a part of the tradition because these 12 lingas have their Kumbhabhishekams and special events. So because the 12 parts of the zodiac and the 12 months in a year, we have limited it to 12, otherwise it'll become too many to visit.
Each one of them typically has a story. So do you have a favorite story connected with any of the 12 Jyotirlingams? We are not going to take…
No, I am…
pick one over the…
No, not like that. I am completely spiritually ignorant. Not because of any disdain or lack of respect, I just never had the time to read any scripture in my life. If I have time, I close my eyes and sit, because this scripture was written by Shiva himself. I don't wish to read any other scripture, because I know human beings are capable of distortion. I'm sorry, I'm not talking about the book.
No, we don't want to talk about the book. They can read the book, they can't…
I'm saying human mind is such, no matter how sincere they are in what they're doing, they can still distort things. This is the nature of human mind. Because information comes in bits and pieces, to assimilate all that and make a perfect picture is nearly impossible. So, this was written by the Creator himself. So I only read this. If I have time, I read this and nothing else, because this is a microcosm of creation. And if you read this for 1,000,000 years, it will not be complete. So I have not found time, but I went to Ujjain because my guru went there, and because he's been the induction for me. Well, everything, sadhanas and studies and everything was done elsewhere, but without that induction, nothing happened. So many things happened, but nothing was worthwhile. Because he went there, and I knew he went there, and so I went there. And Ujjain is Mahakal. Mahakal means great nothingness or great time. In this language, the Sanskrit language, you are an expert, I am not. Kala means time. Kala also means darkness. Darkness means nothingness. Darkness is possible only where there is nothing. Well, here there is air, but real darkness is possible, because air also reflects some amount of light, not enough for human eye to catch it, but it does stop some amount of… because air is not absolutely pure. You come from Delhi, you know air can be seen. Air is a visible element in Delhi. So, space is darkness, because there is nothing. So, Kala means time, Kala means darkness, Kala means space. We have the same word for space and time, or time and space. So he is Mahakal, where he is empty. Well, everybody has definitely heard about Shiva means third eye, it's become symbolic. So artists draw one big eye here. Well, Shiva was not such a freak with his forehead split open. Third eye means your perception has risen beyond your sense perception. These two eyes can see only what stops light. See, right now you can see my hand because it's stopping light. You cannot see the air because it's not stopping light. It's as simple as that. So only that which is opaque you can see. That is a very limited way of seeing, where 99%, 99.9% of the existence doesn't stop light, you cannot see. So 99.9% of the existence is completely missed. So Mahakal means that he is a great nothingness. And you can call him great timelessness or eternity, because kala, time and space, we don't separate as two things. Today, modern physics still looks at things like this. Because there is space, you need time to travel from point A to point B. In yoga, we do not see it like that. We see, because there is time, you can travel from point A to point B. Point A and point B becomes a possibility. Here and there becomes a possibility only because there is now and then. Only because there is now and then, here and there becomes possible. But if you look at creation very closely, there is only now, then there is only here. There is no here and there. So space is a consequence of time. So Mahakal represents these two aspects, and the third eye, Shiva opened his eyes and burned somebody. He burnt a symbol of passion. He burnt karma. Tell me, is karma floating in the air or is it within us? It is only within us. So, third eye is an inward eye. He opened it and burnt his karma. That means every passion, everything that he liked and disliked, because both like and dislike are passion. Somebody can go at somebody with great passion of love or hate. So he burnt all likes, dislikes, everything that mattered. So this is why Mahakal is still represented or even still adorned with ash from the cremation grounds, because some silly activists protesting against it, unfortunately, they had changed it to cow dung-based or paddy husk-based ash. So when I went there and I found out, I told the priest there and also the chief minister, I said, you must change this. Who are those idiots who are protesting? You're only taking ash from the dead, you're not killing anybody, every day somebody is dying. You don't have to kill somebody to get ash from the cremation ground. And now it seems they once again started that process, because ash is the symbolism of all that is caused by elements is gone. All that has a propensity of going this way or that way is gone. A certain stillness has risen, that is ash. Well, people who look at physical world only, they may think ash is the end point of destruction. Yes, it is. In a way, Shiva means that, the end point. This is why he is referred to as the destroyer. But he is also Mahadeva. So Linga is both the beginning of creation and the end of creation. Both ways there will be an ellipsoid. So Linga is significant. If you want to go this way or that way, both ways Linga is significant. Then we learned how to manifest Linga with various qualities, and accordingly, different qualities, whatever people need, accordingly they did. Those cultures which are very focused on material well-being of human beings created Manipuraka lingas. Somewhere as far as Greece, in Delphi, there is a Manipuraka linga. When I heard that there is a navel of the earth, it's called, then when I just heard this name, I knew I had to go there. I went there and they have created a large linga. Indian yogis went there some 4,300 or 400 years ago and created a Manipura linga, which was worshipped and celebrated, but today, due to changes that have happened in the denominations that demographics has taken to, it is just a monument now. So linga is removed from its original place and kept inside the museum. But even inside the museum, it is still reverberating with energy after 4,000 odd years. The fantastic consecration, whoever did it.
How long does the energy last in a lingam? Is it… or does it depend on who has done the consecrating?
It depends on how it is done. See, if it is done with mantras and pujas and other processes, they have to maintain that, otherwise it'll die.
So what about something like the Dhyana lingam?
So if it is done in that way, through technologies of inner energies, if you do it in that way, that also depends on how it is done and what kind of material. If the material is such that it is capable of holding it for long periods of time, it can last very long, beyond what people think of time. Let us say there are lingas, there is a linga in Koina, which is also thrown outside in the garden, which is slightly cracked. even still reverberating. So these are all ancient temples which have been destroyed, and today many other things have been built over that. So this destruction and building of other religious places is not just an Indian problem, it has happened across Arabia and Europe. So it is just that it happened long time ago, here it happened more recently. So this… how long? What is the age? Well, let me start at the highest level, because you asked about Dhyanalinga. Dhyanalinga, the form of Dhyanalinga will last even beyond the life of this planet. It's like Markandeya, because it is not rooted in the form anymore, it's up. Because it's lifted itself up from the stone form that we have created, whatever happens, it will still be there. People who are sensitive will recognize this, but people need a form to see, otherwise they cannot recognize it, most people. But those who are sensitive will recognize this, cobras will recognize it, I trust them. They will always recognize. Human beings, if there is no proper temple, if there's no process, if you don't create an atmosphere, they miss everything because they are too enamored with their own cerebral activity.
Everyone who follows you knows you're fond of dancing. The Nataraja form…
I am not dancing every day, sir. Only once a year I am maybe dancing these days. Earlier I was dancing a little more, but these days there's too much crowd. Can't dance anywhere.
Nataraja form is probably one of your favorite forms of Shiva, at least you've spoken about it. So people have asked me, and as I said, it's much better you answer the question, particularly because you have talked about Shiva's third eye. What is the significance of Andhaka at the bottom of Nataraja?
So, Andha means blind. When you say Andha or Andhaka, you're talking about darkness or blindness, to be correct. When we talk about light, we're talking about vision. When we talk about darkness, we are talking about being blind. Our problems with darkness is only that we turn blind. Otherwise, what's our problem with darkness? Rest of the things that people suffer is their own imagination. They've been watching horror movies or they're producing their own horror movies. Otherwise, there's no other problem with darkness. A yogi loves darkness, but he loves darkness because he can practice seeing in darkness. So once you see in darkness, where is darkness? Definitely below your feet. So Shiva is a symbolism of that. He can see in darkness because there is no light and darkness for him. Because light is a brief happening. When I say brief happening, this bulb these days, they are claiming they have 1,000-hour life. The sun may have 1 billion years, but that'll also go off one day. Anything that burns will run out someday, it has to fuse. So, light is a consequence of something burning somewhere. It is a very temporary happening. In the cosmic drama, it's a very temporary happening. So what you see as Nataraja is a symbolism of cosmos. But as human beings, if everything is darkness, we can't see a thing. We need light, so we need to stand upon darkness and see. That is the symbolism of Nataraja. He's standing upon darkness and he is light. Well, he is the dark one, but he is dancing. Today, I think particle physics and other fundamental physics, people who are deep into it, are beginning to say the only way they can describe the phenomena of particles and energy happening, the waves, particles and the mixture of all this happening is, it looks like it's a dance. So it's not by accident that the Sun Research Center has Nataraja planted in front of this laboratory, because that is the only way you can make something coherent out of the creation. It looks like a dance because it looks chaotic on one level, but it is in some kind of symmetry. This is how everything is about creation. See, someone who creates gardens would think a forest is disorganized, chaotic, everything is everywhere. But a forest can last 1,000,000 years without any management or maintenance. A garden, if you don't maintain for a month, It is forest. So tell me which is better organized. It is just that if we have a very linear vision of looking at everything in compartments, it doesn't make sense that light and darkness is together. But it's not together, light is standing upon darkness. Even now, light is valuable only because there is darkness, otherwise who would care for light? Who would care for the sun if there was no darkness? In the space, light is standing upon darkness. So is Shiva standing upon darkness.
Earlier you mentioned Bhashma, hopefully from cremation grounds. In comparison to something like Ujjain, the importance of Bhashma, Rudraksha, the three marks of Bhashma, Tripurandrak here, seem to be relatively less in Isha than elsewhere. Is that a perception, or is it because those, as you said, require frequent energizing, or is that just a misconception?
I think a lot of people, I see at least the girls are all wearing vibhuti on their forehead. They're also putting it their earlobes, also on their vishuddhi, because their sadhana is focused in that region.
So does it depend on the nature of the sadhana?
See, we are not carried away by any tradition, because as I said, anything that you give it to a bunch of human beings, they will distort it in no time. What is symbolic, if you start thinking it is absolute, that will be… it'll become comic. Lot of people have this thing, they're usually beggars who are dressed like Shiva. They can't go and kill an elephant or a tiger. They don't know the difference between a cheetah and a tiger or a leopard and a tiger. They're wearing leopard skin that they get in some cheap local market, some cloth like that, and they're smeared from head to toe. If they could not make dreadlocks, they'll wear a wig like that. You are making a caricature of it. He lived in the wild, so naturally hair becomes dreadlocked. Where do you go and weave a cloth? So he has a large retinue of people. The only thing he can eat is some big animal, elephant, where elephants were plenty. So they slew elephants and ate them and wore the skin around. Most practical thing to do for the time and the situation that he's in. You don't have to do the same thing today. It would be completely mockery of his existence. So, what is done in one time, if you do the same thing in another time when times have changed and it's become irrelevant, without understanding the fundamentals of what it is. The important thing is, if bhasma is just being used as a symbolism, you can put it all over your body. But if you're using it as a way to sensitize certain aspects of who you are, then it need to be applied only in certain points of your body. In yoga, for different types of sadhanas, for different types of attainments that one may be seeking, bhasma is applied in different ways. But here, I believe all these fools are seeking enlightenment. Hello? Not power over somebody, not occult, not to get powers to burn somebody down, nothing. They want their own liberation. They're seeking liberation. There are just a few aspects which are important, only there they're applying.
Is that equally true of things like tantra, yantra, mantra? Does it depend on the sadhak and the sadhana?
Yes, fundamentally it's a orientation. What are you seeking, first of all? See, it's like technology, because when you use the word tantra, essentially you're talking a technique or a technology. Tantra does not mean, unbridled promiscuousness as today American tantra is going. It means it's a technology. What is the greatest technology on the planet? Well, human system is the greatest technology on the planet. Learning to use this in many different ways, not just survival process of eating, sleeping, reproducing and dying, which is what most human beings are doing, but this technology can be enhanced to use in a completely different way. See, we dig the earth. If you look at ancient civilizations, whenever archaeologists dig up some place, they said now near Kurukshetra, they are digging up an archaeological site which is bigger than Mohenjo-daro. This archaeologist was telling me, I want to see the place.
Rakigari.
Yeah. So, what is one thing that they will find? One thing that they will find is burnt clay, either pottery or bricks. Thousands of years later, burnt clay remains. What does burnt clay mean? Generally pottery, bricks also sometimes. What's so big about a pot? But when that is the first container that you ever made, it was bigger than anything, it is bigger than your spacecraft. You went to the river, you drank water. If you want to drink water again, you had to go back to the river. But if you could hold it in a container and bring it home, that was a revolution. So pot was a fantastic thing that we made out of soil. Today we dig the same soil and build a computer. Out of the same soil, we build a spacecraft. Same soil, we build this human body. Even then they were doing it, but similarly, the same human being, you can just do mundane things and go, or you can do magical things and go. So what sort of magic you want to do? People are always asking, Sadhguru, can you perform some miracle? I usually tell them, see, if you want, I can pull out a pigeon from my pocket and give it to you. What will you have? You will have a bird, I'll have a shitty pocket. That's all that'll happen. What do you do with this? But I can perform a different kind of miracle, that if you do what I tell you, this is not in withdrawal from active life, actively involved with life, daily handling every kind of issue and problem in the world. But you never get angry, you never get irritated, you never fall off the rails. This is a miracle. This is a miracle we need in the world today. Human intelligence and technologies, outside technologies have gone through the ceiling, but we are making such a mess out of it, such an absolute mess out of it. Right now, everybody is talking about some movie where the scientist who first produced the atomic bomb. Well, this is a misuse of human intelligence. Today we may think it's a great strategic weapon, because every idiot has done it, we also have to do it. But I'm saying, this is a terrible misuse of human intelligence. One mistake, everything could go wrong, just everything. Well, in so many other ways, look at this and see. Science means essentially understanding of the manifest world or the physical phenomena. Our understanding of the physical phenomena, what we call as science, and the consequence or the consequent technologies that we have evolved, they have caused the maximum damage to this planet and life on this planet. Yes, sir. Unfortunately, what should have been the greatest boon in our lives, which also has brought many positive things, but we are driving ourselves to destruction using science and technology. If we were illiterate, if we did not know all these things, we would still be angry, we would still kill each other, we would still fight, but with sticks and stones. But today we can destroy the whole everything, all right? So, empowerment is a terrible possibility if enlightenment doesn't happen. Empowerment of humanity is a horrendous possibility without enlightenment. So here, I'm catering to only those who are focused on enlightenment. So only certain things are done. Other things we don't go, because Tantra has various aspects. Like technology can save your life or can take your life. More is invested in taking life than saving life, that's an unfortunate mentality of our world. But it can save your life, it can make your life. In how many ways it has enhanced our lives? But at the same time, it is holding a gun to every one of our heads all the time, because technology is mindless. It is in whose hands it is which determines. Similarly, Tantra is mindless. Who holds it will determine what happens out of it. Will you produce pigeons out of your pocket, or will you make peaceful, blissful, will you make people peaceful, blissful, joyful and capable of doing things which is beneficial to themselves and to everybody else around them? What kind of miracle do you want to cause? Accordingly, you use the Tantra.